Doorbell cameras have come a long way. Now the tech can be used to monitor your front door, even if you aren't at home. Most of the time, you won't really see anything suspicious or creepy on your camera, and maybe that's for good reason. Others have not been so lucky. Here, we've collected some footage caught on doorbell cameras of some slightly unsettling to downright creepy instances. So keep watching and prepare to be creeped out. First up is this footage of a guy walking up to the front door late at night. But instead of ringing the doorbell, he just starts pretending to talk in front of the door, like he's conversing with someone on the other side. This is already quite strange, but what makes it stranger are the headlights of a car just in view of the camera. And suddenly, the man's actions make a whole lot more sense. It seems that he's being made to get someone named Matt from the house to come outside, but since he doesn't want to do it, he's just pretending to talk instead. He can even be seen fake knocking on the door for whatever reason. All the while, he makes sure that whoever's in the car can see him doing this. Now, we don't know what good or bad intents the driver had, but clearly he didn't succeed because this man put on an entire act to make it seem like no one was at home. What are your speculations on this bizarre situation? This camera recorded a fire right from its early stages. It originates from the neighbor's property. The fire gradually spreads all over the property and eventually makes its way to this man's front door. The owner was sleeping at the time, but fortunately, the camera detected motion due to the fire and alerted the owner through constant phone notifications. As soon as the man reviews the footage, he realizes what's going on. The front door was completely engulfed, and after reviewing the footage, the house owner would frantically run to get a fire extinguisher to attempt to put out the fire. Realizing it's too late for that, he escapes through the back door and makes it out safely. Lucky for him, his doorbell camera alerted him in time. This footage starts off with a woman frantically knocking on the door, while frantically looking behind her. It seems odd at first, until later on, a man emerges and grabs the woman firmly. Clearly, something isn't right, as we can hear the man tell her to get in the car, while she begs him to stop and pleads for him to leave her alone. The owner of the house reported this footage to the police immediately, and through further investigation, the man was identified as 20-year-old Victor. The man was later on charged with third-degree felony kidnapping. The woman who owns this apartment complex had been constantly reporting a stalker for months. Since the police didn't have much to go off of, nothing could be done. That was until the woman caught the man on her doorbell camera. Here we can see a masked man get off his bike and approach the front door. What's strange is that he comes up to the door and starts apologizing for stalking her. With this, it's clear that this man is not mentally stable and was definitely stalking her. We don't know what became of the situation, but one thing to note is that the woman to this day reports seeing the man visit her apartment from time to time. This next one is quite strange because the doorbell camera caught footage of some translucent figure making its way around the owner's property late at night. The figure is faceless and seems to slowly fade out of view, but then when it gets closer to the camera, the audio reveals sounds of faint footsteps. Upon viewing the footage, the owner examined his property thoroughly but found nothing out of the ordinary. We're still unsure whether it's a trick of the light or something else. When the owner of this property woke up to alerts from his doorbell camera for motion detection, he went to review the footage. What he discovered was that the motion detection was of an old woman. It isn't strange at first, until you notice that she is holding a knife and is constantly shifting around. She seems to be nervous and is deciding whether she should ring the bell or not. After glancing around for a few more seconds, she reaches for the bell, but immediately decides against it. She awkwardly stands there with her knife for about 2 minutes before the footage cuts off. It is still unknown why she was there and for what reason, and maybe it's okay to not know sometimes. This house owner in San Diego heard his doorbell ring and, to be cautious, decided to check who it was with his doorbell camera first. He saw a man who looked like a door-to-door salesman standing outside. The owner confronted the man through the doorbell speaker as he looks incredibly suspicious. Upon inquiry, the man claimed that he was looking for the Robinson residence. The owner, of course, tells him he has the wrong house, and the salesman apologizes for the mix-up and goes away. The house owner wasn't entirely convinced, so he sent the footage to the local police. Further investigation revealed that the man was a fraud who pretended to be a salesman and had broken into 19 houses this way. The owner clearly dodged a bullet here. This video from Reddit is quite odd. The footage starts out pretty normal, with a woman doing some laundry outside. It gets weird when the woman suddenly pauses. Turns out that she heard a strange noise, but can't quite figure out where it's coming from. It almost seems like it's coming from the wall right beside her. We boosted the audio here to figure out what the voice is saying, and it's quite unsettling. Take a listen. This disembodied voice seems to be calling out for help. The woman was clearly freaked out and called the police. But after a thorough search, nothing was found that could explain the sound. Guess we'll never know what that was all about. In this next footage, the guy was on his way to visit his friend in the hospital, but right outside his door, something was waiting for him. Right as he steps out, a 6-foot-long snake immediately strikes the guy. It was apparently resting on his porch the whole time. The snake missed his right eye and instead attacked him right above it, which was pretty lucky for him, I'd say. So instead of visiting his friend at the hospital, the guy was rushed to the hospital to get himself checked out, which is quite an unfortunate coincidence. Lucky for him, though, that the snake wasn't venomous, and the bite wasn't that deep. He only needed some antibiotics and band-aids for the bite, but otherwise, he was pretty much okay. When you think of Halloween, you think of jack-o'-lanterns, trick-or-treating, autumn, and a spooky October. But Halloween came a bit too early for the man in this next clip. In fact, this happened in sweltering hot August weather. This doorbell camera footage shows a man dressed up for Halloween. He comes up to the door and chants the usual trick-or-treat chants. But then he gets distracted by his own feet for whatever reason. After that, he just looks extremely confused and starts wandering around and eventually out of the property. One might think that the man might have had some special treats of his own before showing up here. On to the last clip of the day. Here, we have nighttime doorbell camera footage. The owner, Kathleen, hears some noise outside her home, and being cautious, she first checks her window to see what the noise is. Turns out, there's a car parked across the street from her house. She yells at the car from her window. Instead of answering, the car takes off with the lights on. Suspicious, Kathleen checks her camera footage and immediately regrets it. The footage revealed that a shady masked man was standing at the door. Whatever his intentions were, they definitely weren't good, as he seems to be wiping the door handle, and his mask doesn't help his case at all. Kathleen contacted the police right after, but the man wasn't found. We don't know if he visited her again after this or not, and let's hope he didn't.